hate you both. I've hated you ever since I can remember. I hate you, and I wish you both had cancer. Cancer? Yes, in the head.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain!
Are you telling me you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
This is the Stupid Cancer Show!
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Hello there, children!
Hey, kids.
People seem to like me because I am polite and I'm rarely late.
Don't worry, I got an idea.
And now, the host of the Stupid Cancer Show, Matthew Zach.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Because he has a lot of chutzpah.
All right.
Hello and welcome to episode 367 of the Stupid Cancer Show, the voice of young adult cancer. I'm your host, Matthew Zachary, a proud 19-year young adult brain cancer survivor coming to you from the chemo deck, our fabulous studio in downtown Manhattan. Broadcasting since 2007, the Stupid Cancer Show is a production of Stupid Cancer, the largest charity comprehensively addressing young adult cancer, online at stupidcancer.org.
I'm Kenny Kane, co-founder of Stupid Cancer, welcoming all of our first-time and returning listeners. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the podcast on iTunes and following us on SoundCloud.
It is not okay that 72,000 young adults are diagnosed with cancer each and every year. So, got cancer under 40? Sucks, huh? Time to get busy living, folks, because the Stupid Cancer Show is changing the world one chemo infusion at a time. On this episode, we're featuring Jesse Case of Jesse vs. Cancer. Just Google that. Stand-up comedian Jesse Case was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in June of 2015. He opted to share his experience with the world via a podcast called Jesse vs. Cancer. He joins us to discuss his now viral podcast, how his life is going, and what it's been like to be going into the spotlight of social media as a young adult celebrity. Survivor Spotlight on young adult Hodgkin's survivor, Jacqueline Piccolo. Going to be a really, really great show. All right. Kenny Kane.
How are you?
Just us tonight. Sort of.
It is. Everybody's remaining in California.
They are. Although we are joined by Jeannie Mortimer, our fabulous intern for the semester. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We'll get to you in just a minute because I want to hear all about what's been going on since you started working on this crazy circus tent. Kenny, we had a great weekend.
We did. We had OMG West in Anaheim, or Orange, or Irvine. They seem to all blend together.
Disneyland-ish near.
Yes.
Yes.
It was 87 degrees when we left and arrived last night to a brisk 45 degrees with no coat. That was very exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
But the event was great for the first time that we had a proper OMG conference on the West Coast.
So much positive feedback. Thank you so much for finally having something on the West Coast. It was extraordinary. It just really reaffirms that what we're doing is so necessary and the need is so large. I wish we could do this every day all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I think with, we were in Vegas, it was 4 hours from LA. Having a conference that was a little closer, we still had the same kind of draw since we always saw a lot of traction from California.
No, it was really good. We had a caravan.
We did. Jim Ford from Phoenix led a tribe of cancer survivor misfits, said with love, from Phoenix. I think they hit San Diego and then they hit LA. Funny to watch someone else go on a road trip. And
yeah.
I think we when I talked to Jim, we kind of shared in the misery and the amazingness of driving cross country.
Imitation is truly the sincerest form of flattery.
It is.
So yeah, we had about 145, 150 people there. A full day of workshops. Really, again, very inspiring. And they were all new. We had some regulars showing up as typical, but for inaugural conference, at least 130 of them were brand new to Stupid Cancer.
Yep.
Very exciting. Good stuff. And then We are celebrity bombed.
Yes, we had our good friend Natalia Ricci show up.
Yeah, she blew the doors off the. Oh my God, jeez! We didn't tell anybody. It was.
It was cool because her and I walked down, and I don't think anybody really paid attention. And then when you announced her and said, "And she's in the room" or whatever you said, everybody was just like,
they went nuts.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, and then I got to square off against her at the after event at Lucky Strike, and I beat her 102 to 93 in bowling.
She was pretty good though. I was impressed.
We were both admittedly rusty, and she said, "Man, I really need my wristband thing that I guess I use one too." We both kind of looked at each other like we are super nerdy.
You are bowling nerds.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing.
Yeah, but not as nerdy as Paul Berman.
No. Who wasn't there?
No,
but if he were, he would have beaten everybody.
He would have. Well, along with Mike Saperstein.
Yeah. And we also have some really amazing news coming up. I know we don't typically time the shows, but as of today, Monday, this Wednesday, November 25th, we are ringing the opening bell at NASDAQ, which is, I guess that kind of deserves this. It's a really, 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 really big deal for us.
I knew you when.
I knew you when you didn't have a crazy, whatever you are, a hipster haircut.
Yeah.
When you had your freckles were just fresh.
Yep. Agreed. Fresh out
before
of the
cirrhosis of the liver and all that stuff.
All the above.
Yes. But that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. I have to thank my brother. Shout out to Ben Greenswag for opening that door for me at the NASDAQ, for putting us at the top of the list of their charities. Really a big deal. But anyway, we have our intern, Ginny Mortimer, here. I wanted to put you on the spot because Kenny was my second intern from Farmingdale. I wound up hiring him, and look what he's gone on to ruin my life in the last couple of years to do. You are following in those similar footsteps. You are a student at Hofstra? Farmingdale. What did I just say? I don't know why I went to Hofstra. Farmingdale.
Yeah.
And this is your internship.
Yes.
Tell us about why you chose Stupid Cancer and what your project is all about.
Okay. Well, I chose Stupid Cancer because I kind of started late in the semester, and Kenny was first on the list to call. And as soon as he said you needed an intern, I was right in here.
I won't read too far into that. Started late, first on the list.
Honestly, the first person
to say
the least
worst decision I ever made. Yeah.
No, it's worked out really well, though. Kenny has been a really good mentor to me because he graduated from the same program as me. He knows the same professors. And so he and I have been working on a page on Medium.
Yep.
Getting some blogs out there. I've been reading a lot of submissions from people who are surviving from cancer or, dealing with treatment right now. And so I've learned a lot through reading all of their stories and things like that. And, I have an uncle who is dealing with cancer right now. So it puts a bit more of a personal touch on it to read everybody's stories. So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
it's fun.
There's a lot of content out there that needs to be curated.
Yes.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Especially the blog. We finally have our blogosphere
We do
is
have
back.
a true blog.stupidcancer.org.
Yes.
And props to Janine for helping me. I
Yeah.
would not have been able to accelerate it at the rate in which
Yeah.
it has grown even over the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, just back in the day when we had blog.stupidcancer, but it had lingered there, didn't do anything. And now it's becoming everything we hoped it would be, which is good stuff.
7 years later.
7 years later. That's all it took. 7 years later.
Yep.
In my don't start a charity. But you're so successful. It's been 12 years. My response to people. What do we always say? We're an overnight success that took 12 years?
Yes, and our scandal is pending.
Our scandal is pending, exactly. Well, with that, let's start our show. Jackie Piccolo in our Survivor Spotlight, a 10-year Hodgkin lymphoma survivor who was misdiagnosed 7 years after her initial diagnosis with breast cancer after an unnecessary double mastectomy. My goodness. Please welcome to the Stupid Cancer Show, Jackie Piccolo. Jackie.
It's great to be here.
No, I can't. Your story, my goodness. So you can't have an intro like that without saying unnecessary double mastectomy is your hashtag to begin with. And
yes,
I don't even know.
37 years old.
Yeah, how do you start with that? All right, so let's start with all of that. Let's start with what was your life like when you were just a normal, regular person before all this nonsense happened? What were you doing?
Well, prior to Hodgkin's, I was the M&M eating, Diet Coke drinking, vegetarian that consisted of pasta and cupcakes. But then I turned my life around after the chemo and radiation. started actually eating kale and putting healthy things into my diet until I decided, because I had 2 insurances at the time, that I would just go for my mammogram early, because they said 40, so 37. It was just this happened to be this 1 month where I had 2 insurances that overlapped each other. So I went, and they decided they saw cancer on this mammogram. So they had me in for a incisional biopsy, and they called me a week later and told me that I had a very bad, they told me, cancer. And they were so surprised because they had thought it was fine at the time of the biopsy, and that I was going to need to get some treatment fast because they believed it was a fast-growing cancer. So I got a second opinion up at Dana-Farber, who had been amazing treating me the first time around, and they agreed that this tumor was pretty bad and that I needed to do something. So I chose to do the double mastectomy so that I wouldn't have to have more radiation and treatment. And they told me afterwards at Hartford Hospital that that it was still bad, and although there was nothing in the breast when they went in, that they decided that because it was a nuclear grade 3 and it had a 30 on the onco score, that I had to start chemo. And that's when I started it didn't seem right. And my intuition, it didn't make sense. The numbers didn't make sense with the fact that there was no cancer in the breast. And so I just started going everywhere and just getting so many opinions, and they were all coming back. You have to do chemo, you have to do radiation, it's a fast-growing cancer. But they were saying there was a 20% chance of recurrence, and if it did recur, I would definitely die because it was that bad. But if I took tamoxifen, it would reduce to 12%. So I was like, that makes sense. Sign me up for that. But if I did the chemo, it would reduce to 8.5% because it was such a fast-growing cancer. But I decided that 3.5% differential was not worth it. So I turned it down, and everyone thought it was crazy.
Right.
Months later, a woman, an amazing doctor at Dana-Farber, Brigham Women's, where they were just looking at the pathology, noticed that the tumor that I supposedly had didn't have calcifications, and my breast tissue did. And when I met with her months later, she said she was one click away from just missing it. And that's when they contacted Hartford Hospital, and they realized that Hartford Hospital had mixed up my slide. The person had not labeled it correctly, and the woman before me that had the biopsy had the same initials as me, and they mixed ours up. So here for 6 months, that woman had been dying of this horrible breast cancer, and I had a cyst, and they had mixed me up. So that is the gist of the story.
That's like a mic drop right there. That is the mic drop to end all mic drops, that they switched your slides by accident.
Yep. And I had a meeting with the hospital, and they claimed that the requisition numbers, they're really long, and that the woman hadn't read to the end of the numbers that matched. And then they were going to invent this thing because in my case where the slides would be colored from now on, so they would match the color to the number to the initials. So supposedly this is all going to change the way this is done. So at least my story will help. But I haven't, this is the first time I'm telling my story. So there's many people for the past few years that have thought I still had, or I had the breast cancer, because I never sued the hospital because I had cancer in 2004. And I think going through that, I know what actual cancer is like. And I think I was just so glad to have this chance. But I wanted to be able to tell the story, but I haven't found the right time yet. And if I had sued them, I would have been mummed, because once you sue a hospital, you usually have to sign a non-disclosure. And so I didn't want to have to sign that because I knew that eventually I would tell it. But I've been trying to contact Stupid Cancer and trying to figure out when the right time was. And I think now is the right time. So I have to start telling people to fight against, like, if things don't make sense, to really trust your gut and trust your intuition, because you just might be right.
I mean, we live in a culture where people sue McDonald's because coffee is hot.
That is true, and people are probably going to, now that they know that the story's out, are going to think I'm crazy. And the people, my close family and loved ones, definitely do. I did settle with them, and they are going to, take care of. And it's sad because this is a lifelong thing that I'm going to go through, because I had the reconstruction, and then just 2 weeks ago, my implant ruptured, even though it's only been 2 years, and they said that it's only a 1% chance that it would rupture in 2 years. So I had to have another surgery. And I just had a little girl. She's 7 months old. So the poor thing, I can't lift her for 6 weeks.
Wow.
So sometimes it's hard, because you think about all of this is just based on somebody being careless.
So there's a law that's part of the Affordable Care Act, which guarantees reconstruction for life for young women with breast cancer. So you're going to get these repairs, covered by, by the government. But I can't help but think someone's going to step in and say, "But you really didn't have breast cancer, did you?" And then you're going to be stuck.
And so the hospital will take that. They are going to do that. They're going to take care of the things related to my breast. But I still, you're still out of work during that time, and
right.
There's just so much that goes into it, and it's sad. but I did get this. I did go through that whole time where I thought I was going to die, and I was turning down the chemo because it didn't make sense. And then to just this was like a miraculous second chance, but it's a crazy story. So whenever my friends are talking to me, I'm always like, you have to just ask lots of questions, get lots of opinions. Because if I hadn't used 3 hospitals, this never would have come out. I mean, and not only for me, but the other woman that was able to get contacted 6 months later and say, you need treatment because they mixed up your slide. So it affects a lot of people.
Are you in touch with this other woman? Do you know if she's taken any sort of actionable course against the hospital?
Harvard made a lot of mistakes in that they actually sent me her file, so I know what her name is.
Wow.
But I never contacted her, but because out of respect, because I didn't know how she would feel about that, but because they knew they messed up and that they gave me her name, they did tell me that, she hadn't had cancer before, so the chemo they would have used on her wouldn't have been as bad as the one I was supposed to have, the one I turned down. So I was told that she did well, despite the 6-month delay. So I was happy about that, because she might never have known if Dana-Farber hadn't caught Harvard Hospital's mistake. So.
Wow. So, all right. So let's focus on the positive. Happy being a mom.
I know. And that's another thing. Everyone told me I couldn't after the treatments I had been through. So it's exciting. It's crazy. She's a big surprise.
Well, that would be, I would want to ask you specifically the questions we usually do, which is, when you had the Hodgkin's, the blood cancer, were you made aware that these chemotherapies or radiations could, cause sterility?
Yes, I used a great hospital, Dana-Farber. They tell everyone. So they did tell me, but at the time, I had Hodgkin's for they thought around 3 years or more, because I was a kindergarten teacher and I was just exposed to a lot of germs. So every time I went in sick, they just figured, oh, you're in your 20s, you teach kindergarten, you're just sick. And it took my dentist actually diagnosed the Hodgkin's because I had a root canal. And my doctor said, oh, there's a better chance you have cancer. I have cancer than you have cancer, and you don't see me worried. But my dentist saw the big lump on my throat when he was doing the root canal, and he's the one that ended up ordering the ultrasound, and that's how they caught it. So I do have crazy medical things happen to me.
So were you married at the time when you were diagnosed the first time? Well, the real time. The real time, yeah. How did your husband?
A hard decision, but they said that if I didn't start treatment right then, because it was going to be like a month for all of or maybe more, that I would have had to delay in order to save my eggs and everything. So we decided maybe we would adopt. I taught kindergarten, so I had tons of children in my life. So I just chose to start the treatment. But as it turned out, I have my daughter now.
So why Colby? Where's that name come from in your family?
It's so funny. Because that was I'm a teacher, and I claimed these two names, Colby and Cassandra, when I first started teaching, and I made sure that I didn't get any of those children with those names in my class. And then when I was pregnant, I just could have sworn she was a boy, and I kept talking to her to hold on because it was a high-risk pregnancy, obviously, with everything I've been through. And I kept telling her that I thought it was a boy and calling him/her Colby. So when it was actually a girl, I just had to go with the name. So that's where it comes from. But Colby Calais is a famous singer, so she won't be totally alone with that name.
Well, that's really wonderful. I mean, again, it's a really happy ending. How are you? I mean, despite all the insanity surrounding it, we're looking at a happy ending here. So how are you back to work? Are you taking time off to raise your newborn? What's your trajectory like these days?
I am. I'm home with Colby for now, and I will go back. I do miss being in education. I was in education for 17 years. So I will, but I helped raise everybody else's kids for a long time, so I want some time with her. But afterwards, I'll just a little more time with her, and then I'll head back.
Well, I have twin 5-year-olds, and they're both in kindergarten now, so I have the utmost respect for kindergarten teachers more than ever.
That is the best age, I'm telling you.
It's a really fun age.
Not to try to take away hope for the future, but that's my favorite age.
I think the part that strikes me the most, again, we can take the misdiagnosis out of the conversation for a moment, is that you chose to avoid neuropathy at the risk of living a better life regardless of the quantity of that life.
And it was a hard choice, and my friends and family were not in agreement with that. But they just, the negative side effects that they listed that went with that chemo, despite every hospital I contacted for opinion, they all agreed it would be guaranteed neuropathy. So I wouldn't have been able to teach. I do calligraphy on the side. I wouldn't have been able to do that. And even with that chemo, there was just no guarantees. So those numbers just never made sense.
Well,
my gut just kept telling me not to.
I bring that up for a reason, is that my diagnosis 20 years ago, I was a concert pianist, and they wanted to give me chemotherapy, which would have given me neuropathy for life, and I declined it because I'd rather die playing piano. And they were like, "You're crazy not to do this." And I said, "Well, I'd rather not die. I'd rather die playing piano than not be able to play piano and die with neuropathy." And they just didn't understand. The doctors are like,
and that is what makes the stupid cancer community that you started the best thing ever, because sometimes you feel like a crazy person making these decisions and you second guess yourself, but then you talk to other people like the two of us that made decisions based on the same things, and it just makes you feel better and supported and more sane.
Right.
And I remember your story because I had met you before, and I've been in awe, and that factored in, and it helps give you strength even when everyone is telling you you have to do this, and your doctors are calling you telling you to do it. It helps you stand strong in what you believe is right.
Jackie,
that's why I wanted to tell the story for the first time in this venue.
No, and I'm honored, and this is going to be a really big deal. Do you blog? Do you have any content? Are you starting to share your story on any sort of social media platform?
I haven't. I wrote the story, so it's all written as like a long essay, like a pseudo book mini. But I haven't shared it yet. I haven't found the right place, and so today is the first time. So now I have to decide what to do, but I definitely want to make sure that I open up about it and tell people, because there are so many components to it, more than I can even share right now. So yes, I'm definitely going to release it soon.
Well, we're very, very proud of you. Again, like miraculous, courageous decisions, regardless of circumstances, and a brand new mom. We like happy endings. We love these kinds of stories. So I can't thank you enough for your courage to come on the air and debut all of this with us right now.
Thank you so much.
All right. Jackie Piccolo, thank you so much. Take care. Good luck.
Bye.
All right, Kenny. And now, the news.
Hello, I'm Kent Brockman, and this is Eye on Cancer.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Head on over to events.stupidcancer.org. That is events.stupidcancer.org. Sign up for meetup alerts and never miss an event again. If you'd like to learn more about hosting your own meetup, visit stupidcancer.org/meetup. All right, Matt, just one, and it's really hard to pronounce. Wauwatosa. Do you know where that is?
I'm going to guess Wauwatosa's in like Idaho or something.
It's in Wisconsin.
I was close. Flyover America.
We're going to... Don't tell them that.
No. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. Wauwatosa. Shout out to Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. No one should face cancer alone because isolation sucks. Download Instapeer for iPhone, iPad, and Android today. Create your account and instantly start chatting with someone just like you who's been there and walked in your shoes. Join our community of thousands of patients, survivors, and caregivers now. Instapeer.org.
We launched a newsfeed aggregator on Tumblr for all the articles, blogs, and stories we couldn't possibly have the time to post on social media. Check out We're Reading 24/7 and don't miss a beat. Subscribe at stupidcancer.org/feed.
Cancer is expensive. Check out cancermademebroke.com. That's cancermademebroke.com, our national partnership with Give Forward, the #1 platform to start a medical fundraiser. You did not ask to get sick, and your community wants to help you. Again, that's cancermademebroke.com. Learn more and start your personal fundraiser today.
Support our programs and services by heading over to stupidcancerstore.org. You'll feel great and look great in your new Stupid Cancer gear. That's stupidcancerstore.org. Be proud. Wear Stupid Cancer.
And that is your Stupid Cancer News. In our main segment here, Jesse Case, stand-up comedian who was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer this June 2015. In response, he started a comedy podcast about it called Jesse versus Cancer, which is sort of taken over the internet by storm. Please welcome to the Stupid Cancer Show, Jesse Case. Jesse. From Nashville.
Hello.
Nashville, Tennessee, represent. Welcome, sir.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. And I'd like to thank your studio audience there. It sounds packed. I hope they're all doing well.
Oh, yeah. The MP3 of people applauding love you.
Oh, great, good. I only like a royalty-free stock audience.
Oh, it's
I will
great.
I will not accept anything else.
Oh, you'd be surprised what we can get away with as a nonprofit and fair use.
We may have actually ripped it off, so even better.
Oh, do you know who you ripped it off from? Because they get them as a guest. Because they were getting some hot applause.
Might have been like Conan O'Brien from the 90s. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me, man. I really, really appreciate it.
So you know how to do cancer right. Stage 4 colon.
Yeah, I don't mess around, man. I go for it. I get right in there. Go big or go home. That's what I say.
I completely agree with you. Were you doing stand-up your career to date and then were diagnosed, or this was just something that like kick-started, screw it, I'm going to go into comedy?
No, I've been doing it for 10 years. I went from... but I do appreciate you recognizing my anonymity in the stand-up comedy world. I have managed to avoid name recognition avidly. I just despise it. Not a goal of mine. So I was touring and doing all that, and doing some TV stuff and whatever. I was living out in LA, and but I'm from here in Nashville, and then I got really sick about a year and a half ago, I would say. And, very anemic, and it was sort of like all the symptoms of depression without feeling depressed. Sleeping all day, you're very lethargic and not able to focus. So my first thought, which I think is a pretty common thing, is I thought maybe I need a therapist or something rather than, a doctor. I mean, therapists are doctors, but, rather than a checkup. And then the insurance deal in California with the rollouts and all that, it just took me forever to finally get lined up. So unfortunately, about a year and a half in of canceling shows and canceling tours and all that, someone figured out, give this guy a colonoscopy. And then they're like, whoa, dude. So that was that. And then I was on a plane back to Nashville, I'd say within 2 days to, move back in with my folks.
Was this a real doctor?
At Vanderbilt.
Was this like I'm sorry, was this like a real doctor that gave you the colonoscopy or like some guy at Starbucks?
No, it was recreational. Yeah,
Okay.
it was absolutely. It was behind a it was behind a Denny's.
Dumpster
you know, and I've had
colonoscopy?
several before, but he was my guy. He was my go-to
Good.
Colonoscopy guy. That's what he calls it.
Okay.
That's what he calls it. Normally they use a camera, but you know, I'm sort of doing a more holistic approach.
I was going to say, you are really right. Go big or go home.
Well, I'm glad the video made it online somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very, very. I mean, you know how it is. What, you were 21?
Yeah, so
was it, or?
I was thrilled when they found a tumor in my brain because it really meant I wasn't crazy. There was a reason I was having all these problems. Did you feel a sense of like strange satisfaction that there was legitimately something wrong with you?
Well, yes and no. I wasn't, at first I was, you know, super bummed out, pun totally intended. But then when I found out that it was like, because, you know, when they tell you stage 4, like, I didn't have a prognosis yet. So before I met with oncologists, I was really, really freaked. And then, because I thought, I might hear that I have, you know, a month left or something. And then when they said, no, we can try to treat this and do this, then I was extremely relieved. And not only at that, but also it validated the last 2 years of my life, you know, because I had been feeling so awful. Yeah, I thought I was going nuts.
Yeah, this concept of getting misdiagnosed for so long is quite the trend among not 80-year-olds.
Oh, absolutely. And absolutely. And it's really, I mean, as you know, as your listeners know, you know, it's extremely isolating when it happens, especially, I mean, it sort of jerks you out of the matrix immediately.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, like immediately every conversation around you that people are having doesn't matter, and it sounds fickle, and you're just in this new world. And it's also very difficult once you're over the pediatric age, because there's not even peers down at the clinic. Like I go down there and it's like Titanic survivors, you know, playing canasta. And I literally, dude, when I'm doing my infusions, they have me in this room where my first infusion I did, which I got like my chemo port put in and all that. And then within like 2 weeks I was getting infused. And it's literally across the street from the children's hospital. And I could see them and everything they're doing, I'm still into. Like they're playing Xbox, you know, shooting hoops.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just sitting over there, like, watching Matlock with these people.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this sucks. So,
yeah.
And I thought, you know, I assume probably similar to how you started recording your thing. I thought there's no way I'm actually alone in this. I just feel alone. This has to be the case for anyone this age going through this. So I started rambling into a mic, you know?
Yeah, the day that I started this charity, in 2007, a friend of mine who ran another nonprofit that had a terrestrial AM show about cancer, was largely medical, came to me and said, Matt, we're going to stick a mic in front of your mouth. And that was the worst decision ever. And 9 years later and 367 shows later, yeah, people are listening to me talk into a mic and rant every Monday. And you're right.
Well,
you need the platform. The platform works.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, I'm sure you realized, like most things, like getting cancer, like all of it, and especially then starting a show about it, that you bite off more than you can chew. Like, you know, I certainly feel that way a lot. Because, you know, it gets very real. Like, I hear from people all the time, as I know you do. And one thing that's very strange about cancer that I know, you know, we all know, is not only the immediate perspective shift, but even the immediate perspective shift within having cancer. Because normally, you know, if I'm out and about, if I'm at a bar or something like that, normally it's fair to say I'm the guy there that has it the worst. I'm the cancer guy.
Right?
But then within the sick community, there are people that are completely terminal. There are people, you know, that are still plugging along. So you start getting those even micro perspectives And then, my last infusion, we're all sitting there, and some of these people are so ill, and then we're all watching the news, and then the Paris thing happens.
Right.
And then we all feel like jerks,
Perspective.
Then we're like, oh, wow, okay, that's real. So it's pretty interesting. It's been really eye-opening. I think it's cool, man. I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing.
Well, what I like about your shows is they're a combination of structure and rambling, and you sort of I like a sailboat on the ocean, Hemingway style, like just going from topic to topic, and it's really interesting.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I'm definitely there's probably a little more structure to it than people realize,
I mean, it's
showbiz magic.
No, it is. It is. I think I meant that with love because.
No, I know, yeah. I know that. I absolutely. That's a great compliment to me because it means that I pride myself on seeming very stream of consciousness. It's like, my stand-up is the same thing where I'm just all over the place, but then it's like I still know what's going on in my head, I suppose.
I just love that one of your shows was sponsored by HappyBalls.com, which is not what it sounds like, but it's just a really cool sponsor.
Great sponsor. Yeah, it's an Nintendo ball company.
Yeah.
And then normally I just make up the sponsors. I have Dodge ads. I have Tampax ads. I think this last week I played like a rare Beatles outtake that I supposedly found from one of their recording sessions. I don't know. It's all over the place. I mean, the interesting thing about being in cancer treatment, I record at the same time every week because I wanted to document it live. So there's episodes where I'm really sick,
Right.
And the interesting thing, though, is you get stuck in these holding patterns where you're doing just like 6 months of infusions or something like that, or you're stuck between surgeries. And my show format being just me talking into the abyss, you can't just focus on the cancer the whole time.
No.
But then there's a million things to talk about. Like sometimes I just interview my dad about the 60s. Like
yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's
all over the place.
It's a great combination. It's I would use an obnoxious French word, a mélange, if you would, of or as John Stewart would say, what would he say? I lost the word. Forget it. A sensu. Yes.
You've already proven that you're smarter than me. I get it. I get it. It's fine. But yeah, no, I try to bring quite a je ne sais quoi, a ménage à trois.
So much French on the show tonight.
Yeah, I think I'm using that correctly. Yeah, so it's sort of a ménage à trois, which I think means.
It's the name of your colonoscopy office.
Yeah, exactly. It's the name of the strip mall I go to for my colonoscopy.
Fantastic. So, Jesse, let me ask you, your comedy style prior to, and are you still writing comedy now, and has it changed?
Yes. The answer to all of that is yes. Next question. Let's go. Let's do this. No, my comedy style has always been very personal. I find that the more personal you make things, the more I've found that they can relate to it. The whole point of comedy, is to feel less alone and for them to feel less alone as an audience. So it's very similar to talking about cancer or anything like that, because it's, I'll talk about something embarrassing that happened to me, and it sort of lets everyone else off the hook for something maybe embarrassing similarly that happened to them or something. And so I've always been a completely open book, as long as it doesn't throw someone under the bus. But if it's about me, I'll talk about anything. And so it's weird, I've used this analogy before, but it's almost like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Like when I got cancer, I was my response to it was kind of like, oh, this makes sense, I guess. Like,
right.
I felt very fortunate that I had the ingredients of, as a comic, I've been spending 10 years just staring into the abyss every day and the human condition every day anyway.
Right.
So I was a lot less shocked than perhaps someone that, a lot of people have a family and a full-time 40 hours a week gig, and they have kids, and they, and then existentially, they have to cope with it a lot harder than I probably did. So I felt pretty prepared for it. I mean, it certainly just comedically, it's made me a lot more fearless now. Like, I'm still performing, in between. I have infusions every 2 weeks, and I get about, and the effect of that is cumulative, of course. So I get 3 or 4 days every 2 weeks where I can go out and about. And that's why it took so long to get this thing scheduled. I was like, all right, I can do this. So, I'm doing a show tonight. I mean, I go out and just hammer away at it. But I don't talk about the cancer much on stage. I do at the end of a set, but I don't like to open with it just because I want to know the laughs are real. I don't want any pity laughter, if that makes sense. I just want to know that it's legitimate, know the crowd is cool. Because it's a complete tone change. I mean, it really bums people out. I mean, everyone listening and yourself, this, like, you can really bring down a room when they find out you have cancer.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and that's something that's really weird to deal with. I mean, obviously, one of the hardest things to deal with about all of it is the reactions of people around you. Watching my folks go through this is terrible. It's terrible.
Well, I was going to ask you about your caregivers, like your immediate family. You have siblings, and you mentioned your parents. How are they holding up? Are they finding support?
No, it's awful. No, I'm an only child, and so this was like out of nowhere. And also, my mom is a doctor, so she really sort of knows how the sausage is made. She's very blunt,
right,
and very scientific. So, when they said it was metastasized and all that to my liver, the treatment's been going really well. But when this news first hit, there was no. It's like we all sort of skipped through the denial part of the grief cycle. Like we just blew through it, and
right.
It got pretty intense pretty quick. So watching them go through it, everyone's doing better now. The initial trauma, the initial shock is over. And as you know, it just sort of becomes your new reality. It's a weird reality, but it just becomes your life, and the things that you could never conceive before become very normal. And the things you wind up joking about and the things that you wind up doing become very normal. And it's like, I think any cancer patient would say that had you told them a year before diagnosis what they'd be putting up with day to day or going through, they'd say, well, I'm going to jump off a bridge. But it's amazing. It's fascinating to me what the human brain can do when it's not given a choice. Like, you just sort of keep living. And
right. That's what it is.
You just do it. You just do it.
So let me ask you, you are being treated in adult...
what were you going to ask?
You're being treated in adult oncology at... are you at which hospital are you at in
I'm at Vanderbilt. I'm at the Ingram Cancer Center.
So VICC is a good hospital for children and teens, but you're being treated on the other side of the tracks. Has there been
the other side of the street?
Yeah. Has there been any sense that they know you're not 80? Were you told to bank your sperm, or introduced to young adult organizations, or met anyone relatively close to your age down there? No. It's
I hate to say that. I mean, there were some pamphlets available, and I certainly, however anyone wants to cope is how they cope. But I'm not a very, and I'm totally cool with all of it. I'm not a very religious fella, and also the hope talk, all the hope talk is a little strange to me. And I thought, it's weird that you would find that at the clinic. I mean, as you know, one of the weirdest things when you have cancer, one of the weirdest things you can hear when you tell someone is that when they say, I know you'll be okay. It's like, okay, well, then we can't talk about this. Because they're basically saying, shut up.
Right.
They're basically telling you any existential crises you're about to bring up, I'm just going to blindly say you'll be okay. And my whole thing was, I really want to be okay with perhaps not being okay. Because the outcome for everyone in life, no matter what they're dealing with, is the same. And it occurred to me pretty quickly, just from a logical standpoint. I'm like, oh, okay, there's a very good chance I can survive this. But then I I don't want to have never thought about this and then have to negotiate death again. It's like, I feel like if you survive cancer, you should get at least a 200-year lifespan, like as like a video game bonus.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, now I have to die anyway someday. Well, that sucks. So a lot of that stuff, I'm in the deep South, man. So a lot of it is very, very kumbaya. And
right. It's not Los Angeles or New York City by any means.
Right. It's very kumbaya, and that's not my thing. So yeah, they're treating me the same as an 80-year-old. Now, bear in mind that that's more the infusion nurses and things like that. My oncologist, who's literally like a Nobel Prize winner, she's brilliant. She's 40 and totally gets it. I mean, we have all the same taste in music, and most of my visits with her, after we look at the blood work and all of that, we're just talking about records we like and stuff. And
right.
That's great. That's a little like respite in my treatment days that I can get through.
Good. It's something.
So that's been really cool.
So
aside from that, yeah, they haven't talked to me about. I mean, I've been freezing my sperm again recreationally for years. Just as like a fun little surprise in the freezer. When I have people over.
That's a great habit. I'm going to get into that habit. Kenny's been doing that too.
I prefer freezing boogers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, the weird thing about the sperm bank is the night deposit. Because you go down there and then it's just this like sort of hole in the wall situation, literally. And
it's a medical glory hole. I like that.
Yeah, the night deposit, and it's very hard to do a withdrawal. Yeah, I go down there. I don't know if it accrues interest. I don't know how. I don't know. It's a nightmare.
Yep. It's a rough life.
Mold, perhaps.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yes.
You went there.
But one thing is that I haven't yet received a terminal diagnosis. So those talks haven't really happened. I mean, I'd made a will and everything like that just for my big surgery, my first surgery I had, first of two, hopefully. So that was in September. So a lot of like end of life talk hasn't really gone down yet, although it's happened a lot, outside of the clinic, just with my folks and whatnot. I mean, I have my podcast, I have a contingency episode, which I think is really funny. Like if something happens, it's like, I have a friend who has my passwords and all that, and they're going to upload it. And then it's like, my Twitter account's going to keep going from the point of view of a ghost for like 2 years. Like I have all this weird stuff set up.
No, I love this. It's macabre and I love it. But how you've chosen to do this is just so emblematic of like the Gen X millennial cancer thing that Stupid Cancer really embodies. And
man, you guys are great. I was so pumped. The breastcancer.org folks got us in touch, and they're great over there. And no, man, I was like, oh, this is everything I've been looking for. This is awesome. I hope you guys had a great time in the West Coast recently, right? There was a conference out there.
Our conference in the OC, we had about 150, 160 brand new, between, I think we had some teens, 20s, and 30s there. It was a really big deal, and we're trying to work on something.
Wait a minute. People are still getting cancer? I wasn't the last one who got cancer.
I know you want to be a trendsetter with your whole stage 4 nonsense, but really, come on.
This is still happening to people. That's absurd.
That's the message, too. Like, everyone thinks cancer is... Well, I mean, statistically, I can understand. Like, 94% of cancer is 80-year-olds, and 6% is people like us. So we're really not in the mind's eye, but we matter so much. Let me ask you, we got about 5 minutes left. What has been... Cool. Obviously, besides discovering you and giving you, this love affair now, what has been the response from the internets to your broadcasting? Have you scared people? Have you attracted new listeners? Have you alienated old friends? What's that been like for you?
All of those things have happened. Yes, it's been the weirdest combo. I think it's been great. I mean, I started putting this thing out there, and the comedy community, really hopped on board and, hey, check this out. But as you know, when you're going through treatment, all of the well wishes, all that stuff, it's like as if you had the flu. It lasts like a week. and then you're just stuck with this thing. You know, you're like navigating this. I mean, the amount of support is not, it's fluid. It's not going to be the same all the time. But the listenership, it's interesting. I mean, look, I'm keeping it very clean here, but well, aside from my night deposit talk, but I'm a fairly dirty comic. The show is definitely not safe for work. It has an explicit rating on iTunes, all that. And sometimes really sweet old ladies that are baking cookies will tune in and then flip out, you know?
Right.
And, but on the other hand, there are a lot of people, perfectly healthy people, that really respond to it. For some reason, it's really big in Australia. So I'm putting together like an Australian tour. I guess they're a macabre bunch down there. I don't know.
Well, they're upside down.
Really well to it.
Their toilet flushes the opposite way. They're upside down. That's why they're angry.
Absolutely. Yeah, they get cyclones. And I don't know. I can't wait. I mean, the fan base has been incredible, and you know, the communication's been awesome. It certainly alienated some people. I mean, you kind of find out who just on a personal level, you find out who your friends are pretty quick.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes, and I do give everyone a pass. I mean, sometimes people don't know what to say, and that's one of the ironies. I don't really believe in karma and whatnot, but I've known people with cancer before and realized, man, I really should have been around more. And that's, you know, one of the things you start thinking about regrets a lot, of course, when you get diagnosed. Like, sure. Oh no, I gotta figure that out. So I get it. I mean, a lot of people just don't know what to say, and you know, think that if they call you, they're going to be really bummed out. So they put it off and keep putting it off, and it never happens. You know, and I get it. I get all that. But yeah, I mean, the internet's been great, man. AV Club's been great. Like, everybody's been on board. And if they're not, that's okay too. You know.
Well,
I mean, I'm not really doing it for them.
No, you're doing it for you, but at the same time, it's like that reverse schadenfreude where you feel bad for other people and yourself, but you're helping yourself and help other people at the same time.
Oh, when I say for them, I mean the critics or whatever.
Oh, screw them.
If people aren't into it, well, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not invading anyone's living room and making them listen to it. It's completely voluntary. So, yeah, it's free, you know, and all that. So whatever. So the people that listen to it, it filters itself out pretty well. You know, people that stick around, and they're great. They're like, it's really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, because a lot of people with different religious views or different political views, but we all sort of share this weird bond. You know, and this is a weird thought I've had that I think is probably fairly common, maybe. But if I survive this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, obviously. Well, the second worst. The Terminator reboot was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. The stage 4 cancer is the second worst thing. But ironically, I think most people would agree that have been in these shoes that if I survive this, it'll be the best thing that's ever happened to me. Because you know, just everything. The way you live your life when you have cancer, I think, is how you were supposed to be living it anyway. That's the cool thing about it. I mean, the nausea sucks, but being charitable, telling people you love them, hanging out with your family, like, that's just stuff we should all be doing instead of tooling around on Facebook all day anyway. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm oddly grateful for the experience. Surviving it would be awesome,
yes,
but I'm oddly grateful for it.
Well, I've been told, this is something we say a lot, that cancer is the great equalizer, and it is the democratization of reality for many, many people.
I thought it was guns. Isn't that guns are the great equalizer? Wait, it's cancer.
Well, I mean, guns are sort of, maybe it's a defensive democratization. This is more of a...
Cancer doesn't kill people. People kill people. Okay?
Can I quote you on that? I like that. That's going to be our hashtag. Cancer doesn't kill people, people kill people. That's a long hashtag, but I'm going to go for it.
That's right.
Well, guess what, my friend? You have millions of friends now. You are part of a massive social movement of millions, and we're so proud to have you as the member of the club you never wanted to belong to, but now you're here, and it's just like the Olive Garden where you're family.
Oh, man, I'm happy to be here. I'm going to mail you guys some breadsticks. Yeah, and let's, I'm going to be in New York doing shows and stuff between chemo and here's one thing I do. I know we have to go, but one thing I'm doing just with my stand-up is I've started lining up tours and whatnot, because even if the treatment doesn't work, I'm going to have some time, to do some stuff. And one thing I'm going to do is free afternoon shows for people that are in treatment, just for immune system reasons. If you need to wear your SARS mask, you can do it. The club will be clean instead of just had a crowd in it. So when I'm in New York, man, absolutely come hang out. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, let us know, and we'll plan a trip to Nashville while you're here.
Well said, Kenny. Well said. Now you know why he belongs here.
Yeah. Well, I cannot thank you guys enough, man.
All right.
What you guys are doing is amazing.
All right,
so,
Jesse Case.
Welcome to my weird group, too.
Stand-up comedian, diagnosed with stage 4, living with stage 4 colon cancer. His podcast is Jesse vs. Cancer, online at Jesse, JESSEVS, Jesse vs. Cancer.com. Jesse, thank you so much. Seriously, we're going to do some great stuff together.
We are, man. I look forward to it.
All right.
We'll go get some colonoscopies. It'll be fun.
Yes.
Thanks so much, man.
All right, bye-bye. Janine, I couldn't help but notice you were literally snarfing with laughter the entire interview.
Yeah, he was a funny guy.
He's funny.
Yeah.
I like that. Cancer doesn't kill people. People kill people. That's going to go over very well. Very well. All right. With that said, it is now time for our fabulous closing sequence.
Prepare to activate.
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
And so, to all of you, a fond farewell.
Hooray, I'm helping.
You are a meathead.
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
That was so terrible, I think you gave me cancer.
Okay, folks, that's our show. And what a show it was, Matthew. Number 367 of the Stupid Cancer Show. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the podcast on iTunes and follow us on SoundCloud.
I'd like to thank our guests, Jackie Piccolo and Jesse Case from Jesse vs. Cancer podcast. Broadcasting since 2007, the Stupid Cancer Show is a production of Stupid Cancer, the largest charity comprehensively addressing young adult cancer, online at stupidcancer.org. Coming to you from the chemo deck, and on behalf of my whole team here at the Stupid Cancer Show, we hope you had as much fun as I did. Poking a stick at Stupid Cancer. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back on the next exciting podcast of the Stupid Cancer Show. Goodbye, folks. Imagine having it in college with so much on your plate, putting your life on hold. It seems no one can relate. Watching classmates graduate.